Uh,
There we are.
Excellent. All right. So it is 6:33 on Wednesday, November 12th, and I'm calling the meeting of the Community Safety and Social Justice Committee to order. Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 extended through June 30th, 2027. The ability of public bodies to meet in a fully remote or hybrid manner. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may also do so via Zoom or by telephone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Sorry, my dog is jumping at the door, so I was a little distracted. So that is the beginning of the meeting. We are going to have announcements. We're reviewing the agenda right now. Go over minutes, member reports, public comment, Crescent DEI updates. We are going to table the League of Women Voters report because the League of Women Voters representatives were not available tonight. Then town council debrief and possible next steps. We're also going to table the committee charge review because that was something that had come out of the first town council meeting, and Deborah and I have reached out to Councillor Devlin Gauthier for additional information and haven't heard back about setting a meet for that. And then credit counseling, I think we are also going to table because I don't know that we actually ended up inviting them to come. Unless we did, I don't think we did. I did not. And I don't know, we can revisit that. So we have budget planning, Rob and Youth Empowerment Center updates, retreat planning, public comment again, and any items not anticipated within 48 hours of posting the meeting. So we have a slightly less ambitious agenda than it was looking like, so that's good news. Are there any announcements?
I'll make a quick announcement. I know that due to the fires that occurred at UMass, a lot of students have been displaced. Metaview currently is waiving locked fees, security deposits, and they have flexible short-term lease options. So if anyone knows of anyone that can benefit, Meadowview is assisting.
Thank you. And just for us old heads, Meadowview used to be South Point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like they've had a number of names, so okay.
They have, yeah.
Lisette,
And
sorry. Can I ask a question of Lisette?
Of course.
So I assume that information UMass has.
I do not know if they do have it. Brittany is the property manager there, and she does a really good job with getting newsletters out. I'm not sure. I would assume that she's done that, but
I'll check.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
and I guess just kind of in that vein, there are some different ways to assist some of the students. I know that the New to You thrift on campus is collecting donations. And food donations, I think, are being asked to be routed to the Amherst Survival Center. And then there is also a fund that's been set up to help. So those are some of the ways that UMass is coming in to try and help the students that have been displaced. Yeah, it's a lot. So, and I think just in in the context of everything else that's going on with SNAP benefits being questionable again, and I know that there were already a lot of food drives going on in town. So this is just another need that now, the community is probably going to have to step in and meet because the government can't. But I guess in that vein, there are a lot of, I'm sorry, my dog. There are a lot of businesses around town that are hosting like food drives, mostly to go to the survival center. So I know Astor and Pine Market, Floral Affairs, the flower shop, Julie Nolan Jewelry. I think the Monkey Bar or Bistro 63 is now doing that. And then my friend's family owns Sibby's Pizza in South Amherst, and for SNAP recipients on Mondays and Wednesdays, they are providing free cheese pizza for people who have EBT cards. So those are some of the resources that I have been made aware of. And obviously the Survival Center is doing the best that it can to meet the increased need, but it's I think a struggle for everybody right now. So those are some of the resources I know, and I know the town has been keeping an updated list. So I think the town's website has that information.
No, Erica has her hand up.
Oh, Erica.
Yeah, well, I was going to say for the UMass students, they waived the dining common fees so they could go and use the dining commons without having to pay. So that's really important. But I think what you're talking about is a more universal need for families who are struggling just to meet their basic needs, as well as on top now 230 students who are now looking for housing. But that was not my announcement. Sorry. I wanted to make sure everyone had an opportunity to talk about what was happening at UMass. My announcement is, I think you've gotten this from the League of Women Voters. They're going to have a Judy Brooks Conversation, youth-driven community programming this Thursday. So it's a quick turnaround, 7 p.m. to 8:30. And the Recreation Department Director, Ray Harp, and Outreach Director, Becky Demling, will be presenting. I think it's a good opportunity to listen to what they're doing in terms of youth. I know we have concerns, and especially around the Youth Empowerment Center. This is really important that these programs are happening for youth, but we have a larger agenda that would be important to listen to see how they address that.
Yeah, and on that note, Erica, actually, I won't be able to attend tomorrow because I already had another commitment because the Judy Brooks conversation is tomorrow. But if others, I don't know, are others gonna attend? Is there anyone from our group that's attending?
I'm going to
'Cause I
try
won't be-
to attend.
Okay, great. Because if you or anyone else could, that would be great, and then kind of give us a report out, at the next meeting, because I am interested in finding out more about these programs. I mean, I've been getting different reports around it, but yeah, I am obviously one. It's good at programming is happening, but as we've talked about, it's not a youth empowerment center, and it's not a BIPOC-led youth empowerment center. And obviously there is, lots of police involvement in these two programs, which, a lot of community members have a lot of concerns around. And, and I get those types of feedback from community members around these two programs. So, so that's also a concern. So I'd be interested to find out, what the presentation is gonna be like. But we'll talk more about Youth Empowerment Center when we have, since we have it on the agenda. The other one, just to kind of finish off the things around the fire and the students being displaced, and it's just horrific. Just want to our hearts go out to them, to all those that got impacted. It's very scary process that I've gone through. And I think it's been all hands on deck to try to help out these students. And I know that UMass has been, like the chancellor sent out an email on Monday with a variety of different resources. Some of them you already talked about, but they're also garnering donations and just basically sharing a lot of just food, clothing, whatever they can with the students, and of course thanking the community for coming out and also helping the students with what transpired. But yeah.
All right. Are there any other announcements? All right. Minutes. Were there minutes? No minutes.
So,
That was easy. All right, member reports.
I mean, I just want to say it before the public comment, just because, I know we're going to talk about the town council meetings and what transpired after the public comment, but I just want to say that obviously, we had these two town council meetings that occurred this past Monday and then on Friday. And I just want to just thank all the people that came out, listened in, sent us emails, sent us comments, shared their concerns during public comment for both meetings, who are listening in. I know there's a ton of people who came up to me and talked to me about their thoughts. So I know people are listening in, and even if they didn't listen, those that listen are sharing the information with others. Because like I said, I had people at the grocery store, I had people just walking about, coming up to me and talking to me about what transpired. So I'm really excited about that. So the community is listening. And one more reason in terms of why we're going to be very vigilant in terms of these CSWG recommendations and concerning matters, because we didn't bring up just CSWG recommendation, we brought other concerning matters that the town wanted us to discuss. So I just wanted just to say again, just a big, 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 huge thank you to the community. There were those that stayed on Zoom for us until almost midnight, because I got texts and emails afterwards saying, hey, I was on until midnight with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is why we do the work we do, because we know that you are paying attention and you're listening.
Yes, I'll just second that. And I, again, am so grateful that all of you could attend on Friday, and I apologize for not being available for that, but it was really powerful to read all the things that you had spoken of on Friday. So thank you again for holding it down and, being the voice for our community. And so I just wanted to, I attended the Luce Network put on in conjunction with a bunch of other sponsors in the Pioneer Valley Workers Center, the kind of immigration bystander-ish training that they put on in October. And they're actually doing one on campus tomorrow, which would coincide, I think, with the Judy Brooks series. But I thought it was really well attended. It was really informative. And hopefully there will be more opportunities for people to get plugged in. They talked a little bit about do's and don'ts when you're observing things, which was interesting to hear about. And then just kind of reviewed some of the video of the grad student at Tufts who had been taken in the middle of the day, and kind of reviewing some of the tactics that were used in that abduction. So I learned a lot. I was really grateful, and to Philip, who was there with the DI department. So that was a really good opportunity to learn a little bit more and maybe think about other ways to get involved if that's the work that you want to be doing. So I don't know if there would be another opportunity in the community for that, if that's something that they're thinking about doing again, or Philip's like, don't make me do anything else.
Well, I want to chime in about that. Unfortunately, I already had another commitment because I really wanted to attend that, but I had another commitment at the same time, so I was not able to attend. I guess a few things, right? One would be if there was anything shared during that that workshop, if you can please share it with the with our group, with the CSSJC group, because I'd like to get it out to the community. If there was any handouts or anything like that. Two, I don't know if you could do it now or if we want to add it to the agenda next. What are some of the points? What are some of the do's and don'ts? You know what I'm saying? I think we need to share this. I mean, because, a lot of people aren't going to be able to attend the workshop, unfortunately, right? So what are the do's and don'ts? I think we want to share some of this information. We want to get out as much as possible out to the community. And three, are there going to be other workshops? Like, for instance, I didn't even know there was going to be another one on the UMass campus. So if there's going to be another one tomorrow, if there's going to be another one in a few weeks, and Philip, I'm sorry to give you more work, but yeah, I mean, let's inundate. Let's do more workshops. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is critical information that we need to be sharing to the community. So just having it once or twice is not going to do it. We have to do it a few more times because people have other commitments. Like myself, I wanted to be there, but I couldn't because I had another commitment. So this is critical. Our immigrants are in distress. You know, they're afraid, they're scared, and they need to know that there's people willing to stand up for them, you know, to be observers and to do things that they need to do. Like, I don't even know what all the things that I need to do. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't have that information. So we need to put out the information. So we do need to have more of these workshops. You know what I'm saying? Multiple times at different times of the day so that people can be able to attend. Because the more people know what to do, then they'll be less afraid to do it. And you know, I don't know how else to put it, you know, these are distressing times. And even though Luce used the video from the abduction back in Tufts, which was horrific in and of itself, their taxes have gotten 10 million times worse. These abductions have gotten more violent. I've seen some that it's basically putting, knees on necks, grabbing people by the throats, all sorts of stuff that was what killed George Floyd, And so, I mean, things are ramping up. It's not getting less, it's getting ramped up. If you all see some of the things they're doing out in Chicago, it is like nightmare, all right? Because I've seen live footage of what's happening out there. And obviously, if it's happened out there, it can happen here too, because ICE has been in our community. They've abducted neighbors from our community here in Amherst. So we're not talking out in Chicago or out in New York or out in Boston, which is all happening. It's happening all of these places, all these big cities. It's happening in our little town in Amherst. So I do ask and implore and plead for the town to have more workshops and for us to know when there's more workshops on Luce and for us to share, in the meantime, share some handouts and let's share some do's and don'ts and put out some things in terms of so people know what to do. And hopefully too, like I've said in the past, there would be some type of coordinated effort in terms of, maybe a phone tree or whatever, at this point it wouldn't be a phone tree, but a text tree or whatever to let people know when ICE is in town so that we can all show up and be observers in those situations. We can't just let it be by chance because, you have to have some type of a way to actually do it, actively do it.
Philip.
Yeah, I can certainly go back to Javier. He's with the ACLU in Ariana for the Pioneer Valley Worker Center, see if there are any handouts. I don't know that they will be or they will be accessible. My understanding of it is that they would like to inform the public as much as possible, but be tactic on who it is they are informing. And so in that way, not kind of showing your hand as to what it is you're telling people to do on the other side. So case in point, kind of just even with the town being involved, I think we were very cognizant of that. And I reached out to all of my contacts and told them I will help out as much as possible, but where it doesn't make sense for the town to be involved, like let's not have the town involved. And I think that was probably one of the smarter things that we did because a lot of people were fearful because Luce and the ACLU wanted people to register just to get an understanding of who was coming and to have some type of, documentation of who's in the room of that, but it was not kept from the town at all. I had nothing to do with that. That was put on through the Peace Development Fund. And a lot of people really liked that aspect. They were like, oh, you don't have access to it. And I was like, I couldn't tell you anybody that's on that list. So I think that people really appreciated that and it allowed people to feel comfortable to come out. So I think it's just a gray area in which people are navigating right now. So I will certainly go back to them and see if there's any information that they are willing to share. I don't know if that will be fruitful in terms of getting information.
Yeah, and I mean, I get that, that obviously it's not giving up our hand, or there might be a situation that they won't share and what have you. But I'm saying I think we have to kind of do an and both, right? We
Yeah.
have to make sure that, yeah, whatever information you can't, because the strategy, I get that, But the other thing though too is that we can't be so strategic and so under the under the basically under the table incognito about it that people don't even know anything is happening. You know what I'm saying? Or we just do one workshop and then that's that. You know what I'm saying? So it has to be an and both. So I do get it. I do get that. Okay, we want to because but I'm sorry. It's just like the town does need to do. I put it. We put it on our slide presentation. Needs to do more for the immigrant population. Whether you want to be outright about it, I don't know. But the thing of the matter is that we do need to be talking about it. All I'm saying is that, what is happening around that. I haven't even gotten any calls like hey, Deborah, let's do a meeting, even though if it needs to be, secretive. Okay, fine. But I haven't gotten any of that at all. So I don't know if anything is happening unless there's something happening and I don't know about it. Because of these strategies, I'm not sure, but there does need to be some type of messaging from the town that this is cared about. We can't be afraid. If we don't stand up for these folks, then who's going to stand up for them though? You know what I'm saying? So we have to figure this out.
Hmm.
Because I know that a lot of I've heard from some proponents who obviously are not in this population as being targeted, who are like, we got to be careful because the town is a sanctuary town, and what if we get singled out by the feds and this and that and the third? It's just like, okay, well, are we a sanctuary town or are we not? Are we willing to say that we're a sanctuary town or are we not? At a certain point, you can't be afraid. You have to stand up. If you don't stand up for something, you're going to fall for anything. You know what I'm saying? So, you know. Any other announcements or member reports? Any other activity folks did? I think we can continue on with the agenda, Allegra.
All right, great. So we can go to public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, you can use the raise hand function. We will bring you into the room. You can speak for up to 3 minutes at the discretion of chair based upon number of people who wish to speak. Nobody can cede their time to another speaker, and we will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during public comment. And there will be an additional period at the end of the meeting if you don't have something to say now and have something to say later. All right, I'm not seeing any hands, so we can go on to the next activity. And we will come back to public comment at the end of the meeting. First, we have CRESS and DEI updates. Who wants to go first?
I was just gonna say, I don't know, Camille, you want to go first or me? Doesn't matter.
You can go first.
All right. I sent over the update to you all, but I will just read it for bullet points rather than try and go in depth. I think that probably would be the best use of your all's time. Just that
Wait,
the
Philip, if there is something that you sent, which I know you sent something, can we just put it on can you share it
sure, yep. Give me
on
one
the
second.
screen as you're going through it?
Yep. Can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, so the DI department started its staff training 2 months ago, and we're doing a 101 and a more in-depth one. It seems like town staff are really receptive to that aspect of it and really engaging in the topics. Topics for this month is going to be recruitment through an equity lens. The DI hosted a successful youth empowerment programming for college preparedness. We had 17 youth in the room, really engaging questions and just beyond kind of what a recruitment fair looks like. They really got to speak to admissions persons and financial aid people, and then as well as our interns who were current college students and just kind of ask them questions as to, you know, like, why did you choose this school, or how did you choose your major, different type of things like that. The DI department, in conjunction with the Human Rights Commission and other sponsors, the Pioneer Valley Worker Center, ACLU, LUCE, the UU, Jewish activists for Amherst and Amherst League of Women Voters, and hopefully I did not forget anybody, Peace Development Fund, held that bystander training that we were just discussing. Over 125 people were in the room, so that was really great. I know that they do have one tomorrow. I do not know if there is going to be one next week, but that one is a Luce verifier one. I would have to check in with my Luce contact on that. So I'm not sure of that. I will get back to you all. And that
All
would
right,
be,
Philip, what time is the one tomorrow? Where is it happening? Do you know?
yeah, it is at UMass, and I believe 6 o'clock, right, Allegra? I think you know a little more than me.
That sounds right. I don't know where exactly it was. There
I
was
think it was Campus Center is what I saw.
Okay.
All right.
But we don't know like where, what room, nothing like that.
I do not.
Okay. If you find that out, you can you send us an email like this? I can share with my network.
Yep. I could probably look it up after I'm done with this update too, and just say it afterwards too, but I'd have to get off my screen and then look it up.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then we hosted a Becoming Beloved Community series last month on civic civility and citizenship. That was also well attended, very fruitful conversations. Our next one is this month. It is with Quabbin Mediation, and it is training active bystanders, and that is going to be more of a role play slash little bit more intimate type of training, and it is all type of bystander training, not just specific as the one last month for immigration. This is kind of, you know, if you see something harmful happening in front of you, how can you interrupt that type of interaction. Spots are limited because it is a community workshop, and we do have to pay for that. So we have 20 to 25 slots. Last time I checked, there was still about 10 slots open. So I would encourage people to sign up sooner rather than later if you were thinking of doing so. You can sign up on the DEI website, on our newsletter that was sent out, on this update that is on the CSSJC website, as well as on the town calendar, and I think that is everywhere that it is, but hopefully you find it one way or another. You could also email me. Obviously, I will send you a link if you email me too. Looking ahead, we are going to be hosting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights Day celebration at the Banks Community Center at 6 o'clock. Beforehand, there'll be a reading on the town common of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that happens annually at the event. The middle school will be highlighting some of their projects that they do for the articles, and there'll be a kind of informal discussion with some middle schoolers as well as the Human Rights Commission. So it's meant to be a engaging event rather than kind of a training or a us talk at you event. Save the date for National Day of Racial Healing from the Kellogg Foundation. That's kind of one of our big events that we do at the DEI office. That will be happening, as it always does, the day after Martin Luther King Day, which is January 20th of next year. You can register pretty soon. I will send out something about that. We just want to get people thinking about it. I know January seems like it's far away, but it's also around the corner. So just want people to think about that. And then also, we did release the DI newsletter, which was sent out to our emailing list and on our website. Here's a flyer for the Becoming Beloved community event for the training active bystanders. So it starts at 5:30. We'll be at 8 o'clock. This is what the QR code looks like. If anybody's out there right now wants to scan it, if you are able to do so through your phone. And then Human Rights Day, same thing. If you want more information, there is a QR code you can scan and you'll get a little more information. And then lastly, the National Day of Racial Healing, just saving the date for January 20th. That is all I got.
Thank you, Philip. Erica.
I have a question, Philip. First of all, I want to say it's amazing what you're doing with the little amount of staff that you have and the amount of resources you have. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's amazing what you're doing. Then I have a question about the training, the town training. I assume it is voluntary versus the expectation and put into people's evaluation that they go to such a training.
Yep, so the staff training that happens is monthly training that happens every third Friday of the month, and you are correct, it is voluntary. We are trying to make it as accessible to people, so we did have a component this year where we make it both available on Zoom and in person. That has increased our numbers a little bit due to availability, but I mean, we're not reaching the entire staff. I will say not everybody is there, and I'm not sure how we can do so without shutting down departments. So we also do specific department trainings. So like last Friday, we did the Banks Community Center training, and I would say majority of the people in the Banks Community Center were able to join us. Obviously, there was people out due to medical reasons and or vacations that were inviting to other trainings that we were hosts, but that is kind of the way in which we are able to at least guarantee that we are reaching majority of the staff is through those department trainings, and usually department heads make those mandatory.
Great. And does that include APD?
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, hey, Philip, thanks for the presentation and giving us the update. So along the same lines as what Erica was asking, are we, so it's voluntary, it's not mandatory, so we're not getting most of the staff. I mean, I get it, not shutting down the department, but you can have, even if it's mandatory, you can have like maybe half of the people attend and the other half attend another time or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So that you're not shutting down a whole department at the same time. I mean, I get that you all don't have the power to make it mandatory. So you're basically saying like the town manager hasn't made it mandatory. There's no like town mandate for it to be mandatory, correct?
Correct. He has sent out an email encouraging people to come, but yes, they are not mandatory.
Yeah, so I don't get why why it's just encouraging people when it is dealing with issues of inclusivity, issues of safety, issues of this, that, and the third. Why is it that, that it's not mandatory? And we did share that during the town council meeting. We were just like, from what we know, these issues of diversity, equity, inclusion, access, all of those things that you all present, bias, so on and so forth, are not mandatory. So that doesn't make too much sense to me, and and the issue, and I mean, I appreciate, obviously, possibly not shutting down, even though everyone can say, hey, we're gone for half a day, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, in order to do a workshop and things like that. The world's not going to end if they, shut down for a few hours or shut down for a day every few months, because again, it can't be just one time and it's done. It has to be every few months. You're training on a different topic, and it needs to be systemic and kind of strategic in terms of it. I know you all have a strategic plan, but that should be part of your strategic plan for DI. Is presenting this strategic training in terms of different issues, different relevant issues, and it needs to be mandatory. It can't be voluntary, so that it's just you're basically talking to those that are already on board, when it's voluntary. You're just talking to the ones that are already like, okay, yes, I think that this is important. What about the ones that don't think it's important? So they're not getting the training. They're just like sitting lovely in the office, and they're the ones that can continue to engage in microaggression, engage in rude behavior, engage in disrespectful behavior, engage in isolationist behavior, and so on and so forth. I'm like, wait, what? I mean, it doesn't make too much sense to me. So that's one that, obviously we're going to be talking to the town manager and town council more about, because, even though you all are doing great work presenting these trainings, who are they being presented to? That is my question. Two, the bystander one, who is that? Who was that presented to? The bystander intervention one?
So that one is a part of our Becoming Beloved Community series. So it's the whole community. Anybody can sign up. We just are limited in the number of slots that we do have currently. So I mean, those events typically usually do see around 20 to 25 people. So that's why we advocated for that much. We realize that it may spark more interest into it, but it's what we could do, what is available
Yeah.
is what we
I
have.
mean, yeah, and that's great that you all are providing it to the community as part of the beloved community portion of it. But I think that that's something that the staff also need. They need to be active bystanders. They need to know how to engage in ways to really, be actively anti-racist. I mean, they need to have that type of that skill set. And really kind of deal with their own internal racism and things like that, so that they can identify it and actually be active, against it, So that's the other thing that I say that we need to make sure that happens, is that type of training, right? To all the departments in the town, because that's those are the complaints and the concerns that I get, right? Is that town is not inclusive, that the town is not actively anti-racist. And when I'm talking about the town, I'm talking about town government, town staff, and that needs to be kind of like the training that everyone gets, and it's everyone across the board. Like I said, it can't be the ones that are already doing it. It's for the ones that are not doing it too. It has to be a consistent message. And if the town manager, who I guess is the one that oversees all the town staff, is not making it a mandatory, then what's the message that's being sent? So that's problematic.
Yeah, with the training, we are looking into how we can get it to town staff. It just is, I'll be frank, it's the cost of the training is really what it's looking at. So finding money for that, for I believe it's 300 plus employees that the town has. So figuring that aspect out, and are talking with them. They kind of gave us that full price because that's why we reached out at first, was for town staff, and then they said, well, we could do this 20 to 25 people training if you're interested in that. And me and Pamela thought that would be a great training for the community, and we'll try and figure out the way to get the staff aspect of things.
Yeah.
I think the other aspect is on our strategic plan, as we're planning for these trainings and all that, is that we are also planning for the town council and commissions, committees, and boards to get those all trained. And we'll say if you're having some advocacy as far as mandatory or not mandatory, please direct your attention in that way as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely true. And the thing about the budget, and that's why when we did our presentation last week, we were talking about increasing the DEI budget, because that shouldn't be an issue, right? Again, if you want this town to be inclusive, if you want this town to be about, acceptance of everyone, and who they are, and welcoming, and so on and so forth, you have to start with town staff. You have to start with them. And not, like I said, a one time and it's done, one pop. Okay, everyone's actively anti-racist. It doesn't work that way. It has to be a continual, process, multiple times a year, kind of really having these types of conversations and really talking through different aspects of it, and we know, we have Dr. Barbara Love, we have so many others in our community that can really, provide that type of work. And then, in terms of youth, I mean, we have Evelyn Aquino, we have so many other, folks that do, active youth empowerment work, I mean, till this day, I think I've mentioned Evelyn a few times, but I don't even think her services have been engaged, which is kind of like what's going on, like the ones that actually work with youth on a day-to-day basis, and their, expertise in our town hasn't been engaged, and again, budget should not be an issue. It just showcases, again, the priority that the town puts on DI, inclusion and being welcoming. I mean, it's just very sad to see, where things fall. So it's like you don't have money to train your staff. Are you kidding me right now? And lastly, my last question is around the college prep. Thank you all for, putting that on. As with everything, I mean, with young people, it's always like, I think they got some good information. I know my son went to it and stuff like that, who's a high school student. And I think, if you all do this again, the other one, I know it wasn't like a college fair, but maybe if you all could do like a college type fair, you know what I'm saying? Where they you'd have other representatives from different places sharing information, that they'd kind of, walk around and I think that would also be very engaging. I mean, I don't know if this was like a first time kind of, okay, let's share information and different things. But kind of like a fair type situation would probably be good too.
Yeah, it was a first time interaction that we had with colleges, and I think at least from my perspective and what I was trying to help out with is that I think that there's college fairs that currently exist that happen at the school that I know of and that happen around town. And so we were trying to make it a little bit different and more engaging than, come to our school and take a flyer aspect of things. So having an actual, sit down of it was amazing. I learned a lot for my kid coming up in 4 years when he's going to school in terms of what I should be thinking about in terms of scholarship, financial aid, and all that. And I've been to college fairs, and I feel like I don't get that aspect from it when you're kind of just going around because you're almost like speed dating and going around really quick. This was like an opportunity for them to ask those in-depth questions that are specific to individuals. Like we had a youth in the room kind of ask very specific to clearly his needs and what he would be looking for. And the financial aid person was able to answer those questions in depth that I think also helped out other individuals in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. I understand. But I also is the audience, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, me as a parent, I want to hear financial aid. I want to hear all of those things. You know what I'm saying? So, maybe it's an and both, kind of incorporating both aspects and stuff like that. But it's just like with our young people though, too, it's just like about engaging them. They're the social media crew, they're like little snaps that they want to hear and things like that. Not to say that we have to just do it like that, like be social media. I'm not saying that, but it's kind of like it has to be like an and both in terms of presentation style and engaging style though too. I just know that because I work with youth for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I always have to make it very much, that type of um, you know, just making sure that they're also having that experiential feel to it.
Mhm.
Oh, I guess one other thing that I would ask for you, Philip, and you, Camille, is that, and it goes towards the budget, because, because we're getting together a list that we're going to go back to the town manager. But I remember that when I asked the town manager about CSSJC budget, right? Because remember, we don't have a budget, and we need, we need to put on, pretty soon, probably going to be put on some more town forums. We're going to be doing another retreat. We need money to pay for a facilitator. We need money for food. And I know you all are strapped. But the response that the town manager gave at a town council meeting on Monday was that, oh no, you all have the budget for us. That's what he said. So I wanted to ask, is that indeed the case? Do you all have budget to be able to pay for our facilitators when we have the retreat, and to pay for food when we do town forums, and to pay for any other of our materials that we might need when we have our meetings, our retreat, our town forums, and so on and so forth? Because I didn't get that sense. Like for the food, we even at our last retreat, you all did provide some, but then we had to get donations. We had to get other parts donated and everything. So what is the reality?
Okay, I'll speak up. So the reality of it is that there is no money in our budget to do any of these things. However, what we were using before was the EAPS money,
Mhm.
okay, which has a certain percentage that we have some discretion over to be able to provide for different things. And then that was stopped as of June 30th. However, we do have some money that is going for programming and also some other things that I'll talk about when I do mine. So there is money, but I have to go through the fiscal department to be able to get any of it to do certain events. So it's a yes and. There's not a lot, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo what Camille's saying. There's not a line item that says, this much for town liaisons, town boards that
Mhm.
you all would get, or the HRC or any other town board that we're doing. That does not exist in our budget line item. So it would be us being creative with the way in which that we're using money to help you all with your endeavors. So to answer your question, I guess that the answer is no, there's no line item that says CSSJC budget is this much.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's what our understanding was too, and that's why we want to go back to the town manager and to the town council to say, because you all already strapped. We're asking for you all budget to go up, for your funding to go up. That's what we're advocating. And then it's kind of like, CSSGC, you have no money, so get it from, DI and or Crest, when you all already strapped. So that doesn't really add up. It doesn't really, it won't equate in terms of the needs that we have. But okay, I mean, when we talk about retreat, we'll put together our budget and then we'll share it with both of you and then we can figure out something. But I don't want you all to further stress your budget. If you don't have the money, let us know, because we will go back to the town manager and let him know that. And I don't want to put you all in a difficult situation because I know you're obviously staff of the town manager, but you can let us do it. I don't have a problem with that.
So you were discussing some of the things that you wanted to do, like town forums, etc. That is something that Crest can do. So it's something that it has to be like planned. So if we can get together and talk about how to what needs to be done and and use the budget to make that happen, that is something we can do.
Okay, that's good to know.
Because there actually was a part, and that's what we used some of the money for when we did the Tory research, was that was part of a town forum. So we did the 3 parts to engage the town.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, great. Thank you.
And then lastly, I just want to jump back to the bystander training. It is at 6 o'clock tomorrow, Campus Center, 9:15 is a room, and there is a registration required, and it looks like it's posted on GEO_UAW 2322.
Oh, so it's GEO. Oh, yeah, it's one of the unions, the graduate union that's doing it. Okay, got it.
Thank you, Philip. Any other
Thank you.
questions for Philip before we hear from Camille? All right, Camille, take it away.
Okay, let me do some screen sharing. Okay. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to go over, this is what, so the town put on a civic engagement, going through the departments. And I just wanted to share with you, the slideshow that, I presented with 2 of the responders. So this is just the overview of CREST with our mission statement and our programs and services. It's a very short list because, as you know, it's extensive, but these were like our primary things that we do. The department structure as it currently is. So we are again advertising for a program manager for the grant that will run until June 30th of next year. So this was the pictures from our retreat. Oops. This was our FY26 budget. As you can see, it is down to now 6 responders. So there's the decrease. And here's how CREST supports the town of Amherst and its residents. Compassionate, non-traditional responses to community needs, enhancing public safety through prevention and early intervention, connecting residents to essential resources and services, supporting vulnerable and underserved populations, strengthening community trust and collaboration, and promoting equity, inclusion, and anti-racist trauma-informed practices. Well, this is just a list of some of our trainings, because that was a big question of what is the training that we go through. The CIT training was done at the Holyoke Police Academy, and it was 40 hours. All of the responders have gone through it, and including our admin and no, I mean, she didn't do that one, but so everyone is trained in that. And also they also put on one in, I think it was Greenfield. We went up to Greenfield to do a adolescent CIT training. So this also was done with police. So this is more about the crisis intervention training is about how to speak to and how to stand and talk to people who are in crisis and how to go about bringing people and meeting people where they're at. And I will say one thing, when I did the CIT training in Holyoke, I did it myself and not with any other CREST responders. And I was paired up with an Amherst police officer. And I got to see firsthand the differences in how CREST handles the situation and how APD does. As you know, we are consent-based. So the first thing we're going to ask is, hi, introduce ourselves, and, we hear this and how are you doing, etc. Versus how police come and do the who, what, where, when, why. And what it ended up happening was the officer that I was with got a good look into how CREST operates and realized that, oh, yes, there are times that they are not trained to handle situations. And we come about things again with compassion and trauma-informed and anti-racist. So, mental health first aid, advanced CPR and first aid, we are trained to the first responder level. Public Narcan training, that is done, and we're working on a town-wide Narcan program so that everyone who deals with people with Narcan knows what to do, how to do, and that we're all on the same page. That if someone has to be administered Narcan, that they understand that they through APD and AFD, they have to go to the emergency room because Narcan sometimes is only a stopgap and can put a halt to opioids. But if there's enough in their system, they can start having the reaction again back. So while we are consent-based, we have to strongly suggest that someone goes. But of course, if that happens, there's going to be police and fire there, as we're going to automatically call them. Trained in de-escalation, crisis intervention, situational awareness, safety needs assessment, scenario, DEI justice, implicit bias, restorative practices. So this was Crest in the Community, Crest Day, which was September 22nd. We did it on the 21st. Crest went over to the DCC to celebrate with them. The block party, at the block party meeting, Mindy Dom, the back to school event, and then the 911 remembrance. So some of the statistics, almost entirely Crest come directly into our office. So what I was trying to stress with this is that currently we are on a self-dispatch model, that we only call dispatch to have a data for on the CADs, the computer aided dispatching. That is the only reason that we speak to dispatch, is to call in our members in the morning on the board, and then when we call in the calls. Crest responded to 763 calls during the fiscal year 2025. That was the computer aided dispatch calls. But what is not accurately shown there is the amount of calls that we have that don't end up on CAD. So, for example, today I received a call. Our admin's out and everybody was busy. And I received a call about a neighbor having difficulty with their landlord. And so what ended up happening is I called the company, the Amherst Housing, spoke to them, got back to the person. By this time, they were fine. And but that's not a CAD call. So what's happened now, I recently instituted like a Crest in-house log. So that is going to better show the numbers of the calls that we're having that don't rise to a dispatch call. So you look, 245 of those calls were assist neighbor. Like I said, there was at least double that, maybe triple that, of people that just came in and had questions, needed resources, etc., that didn't rise to this level. I've also had people come into my office to talk about interactions they've had with APD, and talk to them about being a support system, and if they wanted to go over and talk to someone, but they didn't. So again, these are calls that are not registered into the dispatch. So the most predominant group that we work with are seniors, and we're rapidly expanding the calls: well-being, assist with evictions, Salvation Army vouchers. That's after they go through a process to find out what other needs they are, financial loss of a job, a fire, etc. Here's our community involvement. Just talked about, having people come in and talk to us, and our involvement in the community. It's bi-monthly Veterans Breakfast. Our senior volunteer, Gene Herman, who has been a wonderful, supportive person in Crest. He has brought a lot of information about what being a veteran, and he's a Vietnam era veteran, to the community and to the town in general, and also to us. Also in the weekly UU breakfast, go over there to support, because there have been some difficulties there, and especially in the past couple of weeks with the SNAP difficulties that are happening or canceling of them. So we've been able to go over and support the people that are there. The same thing with the Amherst Survival Center. And then we also go to the Jones Library, local parks and playgrounds. And of course, we're at almost all of the town-sponsored events. So Winterfest, Merry Maple coming up. Oh, there. So the other thing I want to discuss is I applied for a grant for field mediation. So this would also add something to our toolbox to be able to be formally trained to do mediation. We have had training in mediation along with de-escalation, but in this case, one of the things is that this is to be able to do more in the community. So I did the interview today, and hopefully we'll find out in December whether we receive the grant. So thank you.
All right, I see Everald has a hand up.
Thanks, Lager. Hi, Camille.
Hi.
From the calls that you're reporting, how many of those calls were inbound calls to Crest?
I'm not sure. Most of those, wait, I was gonna say inbound calls from where?
Just people calling Crest for help.
I would say probably half, a third to half. Most of our calls come through people who refer us and come into the building or call. That's been a lot more now as people calling in.
Okay, so some of those 700 includes walk-ins.
Yes.
Okay, and the computer model that you mentioned, I'm not sure I fully understood what that is. Can you help me understand what that is?
Sure. CAD, computer aided dispatch. So what that is a program that is in emergency communication center, in this case, our dispatch. And when a call goes out or a 911 call or someone calls in, because 911 is a type of call, but when somebody calls in, it will show their address, the number they're calling from, etc. So in this case, when Crest goes on a call, so say Amherst Survival Center calls, they're having someone who's being disruptive and they don't want to call the police. So what they'll do is they will call the Crest line directly. One of the responders will take the call, get some information, and then get out the door to the Amherst Survival Center. So as they're ready to leave, they'll radio in on our radios to say that they're going to a call at the Amherst Survival Center and it would be assist business.
So is the CAD system a reporting tool? I'm just want to make sure I'm following. Is it a reporting tool for after the call comes in, or does it automatically capture all? Say, for example, if I were to call Crest, does that call automatically go to that CAD system and give you all the information, or does one of your
No.
team input that information to the system?
No. Press has to call and put that information into the system through the dispatcher.
Okay.
So that's why, this is why, I'm making it very clear that we are a self-dispatch model. So when people talk about being on dispatch, it is that we have the CAD system and we call dispatch to put ourselves in on the CAD. It's not that they're dispatching us, we're putting in a call to have it put on there.
Okay, so it's not like a traditional
No.
911 and the call automatically goes into
No.
their computer system. Okay. The other thing that you mentioned is a program manager job posting.
Yes.
And I believe you said, and I want to make sure I understood this, are you advertising until June, or is the money only available to cover a person that you hire until June?
The money's only available till June. This is still on the grant.
Okay. And so the program manager, what would that role be, and what is that role, and what is the plan after June?
So the role would be to assist with any grants, to look out and obtain grants, to work with programs. So we will be onboarding a new responder. So when the new responder is onboarded, they will make sure that they have all their trainings. They will also help keep the data and the outlays for the grant. and also be trying to think for some other things. Like using grant money. So the major job will be right now is overseeing the grant, but it'll also be dealing with training and other programs that we're having, like Crest Connections, making sure that all the data is up to date for Crest Connections, ordering supplies that are needed, and making sure that everything that we're doing is sticking to the our mission.
Okay. So, and so from that description, given that it's grant funded, it's a temporary position.
Yes.
Um, are there any opportunities for Crest to get a very qualified intern and save that money and put it somewhere else,
No.
given that's a temporary position?
No.
Is there a reason why?
Because the grant ends in June of 2026.
No, I mean still use the grant, but I'm saying rather than pay for a temporary position, can that money be spent somewhere else that Crest may need it and just get um, an intern to cover for that role?
No, because it has to deal with fiscal responsibility, and we can't have an intern doing that. However, one of the things that I am looking at is into gaining an intern for the spring, for some other things, for Crest Connections, and just to help out with some of the other things that are, our newsletter, helping with some of the data, outreach, etc. Same type of thing that DEI has with their interns.
Okay, so what exactly, I do understand the term fiscal responsibility, but what exactly would this program manager need to do um, in terms of fiscal responsibility that it has to be a paid position?
So they would be dealing with the fiscal department.
Okay,
So, and that's the part. So they would be handling money, etc.
okay.
Like all of like the putting in the POs, etc. So they would have to have knowledge of POs and, town functionings, which is taking me a year and a half to learn, and I'm still not great at it.
So, so do you have prospects for this position? I don't know if you started posting already,
It was
advertising.
posted on Monday, and we've already gotten a few people that have already applied for it.
Okay. And so when that come June, would there no longer be a need for a program manager?
No, there still is a need for a program manager.
Okay. So you're essentially, and is that position being written into your budget for the next fiscal year?
I would like to. I know we're starting budget prep now again, but so you know, there's a lot of things that I don't know, but I have my wish list. So my wish list is to go back to 8 responders and actually to go to 10 so that we can have a second shift. You can't do 2 shifts with 6 people.
You talked about the training that you had, and I thought it was a great example that you gave with the officer from APD. Um, just out of curiosity, did that change the officer's perspective about the need for Crest as opposed to, hey, Crest is here to replace us? I don't know. I know you can speak on someone's mindset, but I think you said they fully understood what Crest did. I don't know if there was any like, oh, I can get behind this kind of a mentality.
I think what they saw was they saw the difference in how an approach can be, and also how a person could, a youth, not want to open up to them to questions about the who, what, where, when, why, versus, hi, I'm Camille. I can see that you're having a difficult time. You know, do you want to talk? Is there something that we can do about it? And instead of asking them questions, bringing them in. So, yes, they did understand the differences.
Okay. So I know I'm hogging the mic a little bit, but just bear with me. So one of the things that happened on Monday was council vote to have Crest be on dispatch by December.
Yes.
Does Crest have documented, approved standard operating procedures for dispatch?
Okay, I created September 5th dispatch protocols that were given to APD, dispatch, and the town manager. And those are what we are working from now.
So is that a yes, you have those standard operating procedures in place that your team is working
No, they're
from?
not in place. They're in draft form.
How do they get from draft form to operational by December?
Meetings with the parties that are involved.
December is like probably a month and a half
6
away.
weeks, yes.
Is that going to be done by December?
My plan was to have it done by September 22nd, so I have done my part. It is now, working with the powers that be to make it happen. And the town manager made the agreement that it was to be done, and the town council voted on it to be done by the end of December. So
So I know that at some point, Deb and Allegra may have to meet with Paul again. But really, what is the impediment to making that happen at this stage? Like you said, you've done this since September. It's been with them for quite some time. What is the holdup?
it is in the hands of the people that need to have it. And I can't say what other people are doing. I just know that I have started my part of it.
But no one has come back to you and asked questions or provided feedback or concerns to say, hey, here's a concern, here's a problem. So
We
to
had
your
a meeting. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago. And then there was a meeting while I was at training. So there are meetings that are happening.
are you involved in those meetings?
Yes. I was involved in the first one. The second one I wasn't.
But my question is though, with your involvement in those meetings, are you hearing anything that would suggest that you're going to have to come back and redo the work that you've already done? Or do you think that, or has anyone voiced any?
There will have to be work done on them.
Okay, and that is the heart of my question. What is it that needs to change or needs to happen to make this go live in December?
That is, I don't know. I've done my part. I don't know. That's something we're working on.
I don't think I'm getting a very clear answer because if you're in the meetings, you gave a draft, you gave your version, and it's with the town manager and the police, and you're in those conversations, they're not telling you what needs to be done.
All I know is the way it is that they have to work out something, that they have to be in a certain format, etc., and that this is still in discussion.
So I'm very comfortable if you say that there's certain things I can't talk about right here, and that's reasonable. But
I
I,
can
I
only, what I can tell you is there's the information that I have at this time. So at that point, I can't go into anything further.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Deborah, is it okay if we go to Lisette next, just because she has about 13 more minutes till she has to hop off? Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, thanks.
Hi,
Lisette?
thank you, Allegra. Thank you, Deb. So Everald actually touched base on a couple of the questions that I had. But Camille, you mentioned CREST being more centered, or excuse me, consent-based, opposed to the PD's approach to certain situations. Can you elaborate more on what consent based is?
So if we go to, if someone calls us about, say, their spouse and they're having mental difficulties or they are just not having a good day. When we go there, it's like we introduce ourselves, etc., and go to speak to this person. And if they say, get out, I don't want to talk to you, then that is their right. So what we'll do is say, okay, we understand that you're not ready to talk or that you're having a difficult day, but can we leave some information for you? Or is there anything that you would like us to do or anything that we are able to do? So usually what ends up happening is that people will tell us what their need is at that time. So instead of just barraging them with questions about who they are, etc., what we're doing is we're developing a rapport and a relationship.
So if someone refuses your help, you would leave the situation, or would your staff
We
continue?
would back off. We
You
would
would
back
completely
off
back
and go, we would not completely back off. We would back off and let them know that we're here if they needed them. But at the same time, if someone says, get out of my house or get away, we're going to back off. And usually the person that calls is somebody that we can talk to about what's going on. And then usually what happens is that brings that person into the conversation.
hmm Okay.
So what happens with most people is that they're so used to being talked down to and not listened to when
hmm
they call for help. So if they call for help, it's that they have a need and Crest is able to sit there and take the time and hear what their need is without jumping to fix it.
Yeah. Um, would you say, and I know you can't speak on someone else's behalf and what their thoughts are and whatnot, but your interaction with this other officer and how they realize that you guys have, as in Crest, have a different approach to situations. And I don't know if you know this, but sorry, my dog. Um, is that because they have been trained to ask all these questions and assess certain calls a certain type of way, or is it your opinion that it varies by the officer?
That's their training, but I think that's what CIT is doing now is training them to look at things differently. But they're
Okay.
still going to rely back on their training, but it's giving them other tools.
Mm-hmm. I think like you've mentioned a few months ago how one of the key differences between a CREST responder and an Amherst police officer is sometimes the tone in the way that certain people are approached, and how CREST responders have a certain gentle tone in comparison to a police officer. Um, I'll move past that because I forgot where I was going, but I think the fact
I
that
would just I would just say that again, being consent based and not having being there to take the time to be able to listen is what makes a
Mhm,
difference. If someone calls up and even though after the call today, even after 1 minute, I knew what the issue was, that wasn't what that person needed. They needed to be able to tell me the whole story about how they got to this point and being able to hear what was going on. When I called them back, their tone had gone from being up here
mhm.
to just slowly going down, down, and asking them questions. Okay, so what else is going on? So what else do you need? What is it that we can help you with?
Yeah,
And this is someone who gets very agitated, and they weren't. I didn't see that. I didn't feel that.
okay. I think that's oftentimes what happens with police officers, that they see that risk factor, right, as to why CREST shouldn't attend a call, likely because don't have that type of training, or they don't approach difficult individuals the way that a CREST responder would, which is why they continue to mention this whole risk
Mhm.
situations.
But that's already been proven that the risk to folks, if you look at the LEAP report, the risk is minimal. Because again, we're taught situational awareness.
Mhm.
And as people, we lean into our gut of if you feel something's not right, then back out.
Right.
But then again, the other part of this is that our empathy and intuitiveness also tells us, wait a minute, there's something more going on here. Somebody might have called for this, but that's not actually what they want to talk about or they need. It's that. And being able to take the time to let them explain exactly what's going on, you find out, oh, wait, here's what you actually need. You know, is this something that sounds like this could help you? Oh, I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the fact that your responders do that should be an indicator that CREST should be able to take more dispatch calls that are risk. And then my last question, is there a certain protocol that every single one of the responders follows when assessing a phone call?
We do have a intake sheet.
Okay.
So following the sheet, it's like, what time the call came, where the call came from. And then, so when we do the CADs, we will use a neighbor and maybe initials. We don't go into great depth about who the person is because a lot of people don't want that information out there.
Yeah. No, so I guess my question would be if someone calls into CREST,
Mhm.
would your staff ask questions, for example, as do they possess any weapons? The person that may be in distraught. Do they have a firearm? Do they have a knife? Things like that.
It depends on who's calling. So if it is in a situation where somebody is escalated, then that would be it. But if it's just a normal call, like a wellness check or something like that, that nobody's seen them, it's a different thing. If someone is having an argument or there's some kind of difficulty, then that would be the time to ask.
Okay. And if there is a weapon, then
If
CREST responder would resort to
we
the
talk to the person and then it would be a police call.
Okay. And would CREST still respond along with the police?
We haven't hit that yet.
But
So
if you did,
Um, I would say that would be oh my goodness. The police would get there and then after the scene is taken care of, then Crest would go in as secondary to, see what other needs the person has.
okay. Thank you
So it
so
would
much.
be a follow-up.
A follow-up? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for being at the meeting also.
Oh, of course.
I want to thank all of you for being there Monday. I was really impressed.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Camille. And thank you, Lisette and Avril, for all those great questions. And Camille, I do believe that CREST is a different model, so I do agree with you in terms of the approach that you all are bringing and how you approach people when they call in and they're asking for help, because I do think that that is a huge difference between CREST and the police, whereas the police are coming in a lot of times responding to calls and then going off of their own script, which sometimes ends up being that the person who asks for help is actually the person who ends up being harassed or targeted or in some situations arrested and everything, where they were the ones actually asking for help. So I do appreciate you all having a response model that actually engages the person, right? Asks those questions, tries, but also gives that person the empowerment to say, well, maybe I don't need your help anymore at this point, or
Mhm.
what have you. You know what I'm saying? To give them that power to do this. And people need to understand in town that Crest is supposed to be a different model. It is supposed to be a way to really help people where they're at, meet people where they're at, and really assist them and empower them to actively help in resolving whatever it is that they're doing, you know? I guess the only thing that I would ask you, right, to kind of go off of a little bit of what Lisa is saying is, so let's say though, if you show up and there's someone obviously in active distress, right? That could be a risk to themselves or to others and stuff like that. But they're like, you show up and they're like, no, 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 I'm fine. But you can actually see they're really not fine. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I mean, would you all engage at that point if you saw someone that was a risk to themselves or a risk to others, even though they're saying no, no, no?
That's where the relationship building part of it is. They may say no, but it's not that it's no, they don't want us to talk to them. They don't want the traditional response because that's what happens most of the time. They're used to, most people, when you call for help, are used to getting a certain type of response. So what happens is different with Crest is, again, it's humanistic. We come in there and find out what is it that you need. If there's nothing that you need, and that some days it's just, I need to vent. And afterwards, this we've heard many times, somebody actually listened to me. Because usually what happens that it's the tip of the iceberg. It's the thing that people see that sets people off. But that's not the issue. A lot of times it's much more structural, racial trauma, and being able to have a listening, empathetic presence makes all the difference.
Yeah, which I get that. And I do think, like, when I keep hearing the town manager and others that who are, kind of resistant to, well, I won't say the town manager, I don't want to put words in the mouth. I don't think he's resistant towards Crest, but I don't know if people really want Crest to be fully what it's supposed to be in terms of obviously an alternative to policing. And so, but I have heard the town manager and others always bring up, oh, it's because of the risk. Oh, we want Crest to be safe and things like that. And I think that that's pretext. Like you said, the LEAP report that has studied a variety of different, community responder programs and has studied kind of responses to a variety of different calls, have said that if you all have been it created for 3 years, and then you all have been doing this work for a while now, and there's risk in everything, right? The police have risk when they show up. There's risk. So the aspect of risk is pretense on the end of the day, right? It's because, again, there's resistance to you all responding and being dispatched. Because I do appreciate, like whenever I was asking those questions, which was good for the community to hear, I do appreciate that you all have this kind of self-dispatch where you're recording, because that's how I kind of look at it, is it's kind of like a self-reporting mechanism so that that information and that data is captured. But it needs to be, right? 911 calls are coming in. There's these calls that Crest should be responding to, and that needs to be dispatched. And that's where, okay, now the town manager has said it, it's been captured, it's on video and stuff like that, him saying that this is going to get done by the end of December 2025. Town council did a motion where they added this in. So this needs to happen, but as everyone was questioning and we're all questioning, but the town manager reported it's you, Chief Ting, and the town manager ultimately that needs to get the protocols that you put together, the draft protocols that you sent back in September. So they've had it for months, So I don't care how it's done at this point, but it needs to happen by the end of December 2025. And the town manager and others need to understand that if it doesn't happen by December 2025, we are going to be going back to the town manager and going back to the town council to ask why that did not happen. And when we're asking about dispatching to Crest, it can't be one or two kind of dispatch categories. There were several categories that Crest should be getting dispatched. And as we've seen by all these reports, most of the calls that happen in Amherst are nonviolent. So
Mhm.
therefore, you all should be getting a lot more calls. So we don't want dispatch to happen in name only. And this has been shenanigans. It's been shenanigans because I remember even before you came in, Camille, when there was the interim team that had a police officer on there, which we weren't happy about, but they had a police officer on there, and Pamela was on, and the fire chief was on. They had that whole interim team. They had worked on protocols for dispatch. Because I remember having meetings with them where they had come across all these different type and calls that were going to be dispatched. And what, maybe 1 or 2 calls were dispatched during that time and nothing happened. So it's always this situation of, and again, the whole pretext was, oh, it's risk and we want the Crest team to be safe. And obviously we want the Crest team to be safe. None of us are saying that we want Crest team to go in there and get hurt. Just like we don't want the police to go anywhere and get hurt. These are human beings. You all are human beings. We don't want anybody to get hurt. That's not what we're saying. We're saying is
And
that you all are well-trained people, and
Mhm.
whatever time, whether you respond or the police respond, right? Because both of you, but both the other parents are well-trained, but regardless of whether you respond or the APD responds, there's going to be a level of risk. That unfortunately that is the case. That's the job that you all have
That's what
undertaken.
I was going to say. That is the job. We are in this job because we took this job because we want to help people. So there's always inherent risk. As I said to people, you could walk across the street and get hit by a bus. That crosswalk, I almost got hit by a car going to town hall. So,
Yeah, no,
but
it's true. So
it's training, it's situational awareness, knowing what your duties are and how to deal with people. I mean, there's always a risk, but that is why we work in teams of 2 and we're very aware of where we are and who we're speaking with.
yeah.
And most of the populace, when we are dealing with them, are happy to see Crest because they
Well,
know that we're going to take the time to listen to them and assess the situation and find out maybe we have resources or the ability to give them a warm handoff to someone who has better resources or knows the need that they have. We have people that we can call up to talk to about, hey, this is happening. Oh, this person needs, food. So they're an elder, they can't get out of their apartment. We can set them up with Highland Valley. So having those key people that we've cultivated these relationships has made it a lot easier to reach more people.
Exactly. No, I mean, and that's the reason why, we created, Crest, right? And the end of the day is like you said, right? To have these different sort of responses, to really listen to those who are in need, who are dealing with, stressful situation or distress or what have you, but having a different approach to it, right? Which will always make a difference, right? Because like you said, it will create the trust, it will create the kind of that relationship that, even if in the beginning it's maybe a small problem or small issue, then you all build that trust to possibly, if they are having a big problem, they feel comfortable for Crest to go out and respond to it. But what we're saying is that the community needs Crest, if we're calling 911, we need to trust dispatch to be able to dispatch those calls too. Obviously, not taking anything away. We always envisioned that it could be direct calls to you all, but it also needed to be dispatch calls. And then the other
Agreed.
part, yeah, and then the other part that we said at the town council meeting is the fact that, there needs to be funding for Crest to be able to work after 4 o'clock, right? And to be able to be available on weekends. Like I said, I saw, a situation where it would have definitely been Crest that I would have been calling, but couldn't call Crest because it was on a weekend. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, and I did not feel comfortable calling the police, and I didn't. I was just like, I'm not calling the police in regards to it because it wasn't a situation for the police. It was a situation for Crest, and I knew if the police had been called, that person was not going to be safe, you know? So I did not call the police. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure there's a lot of other people in town that kind of feel that and have to go through that little thing in their heads, like, oh my God, I should be calling somebody. I mean, I should be calling press, I should be calling press. But unfortunately, it's not 8 to 4, Monday to Friday. You know what I'm saying? Because like we were saying to you, that was not the vision of CSWG. CSWG, we proposed the whole you know, strategy, the whole plan in terms of having these two teamed you know, folks 24/7. You know what I'm saying? 7 days a week.
Well, 10 people cannot do
No,
24/7.
of course not. Of course
So,
not.
but
No, of course
10,
not, because that's what I was saying. It was 2
right,
people
10
per shift.
people, right, 10 people can do 2 shifts and weekends. That can be done, but you can't, you know, like, you cannot do
No,
it with
no.
6 people.
Of course not. Of course not. And that's what, and we're not asking you all to. You all are doing as much as you can, given what you got, which is great. You guys are doing extraordinary work. No one's taking that away from you. What we're saying to the town, though, is that they are doing a disservice by not extending your hours, not adding your staff, not adding to your budget. You see what I'm saying? So that, and then you not having an assistant manager. Because this program manager, the way I look at it is that it's a grant funded position. It's like the implementation manager, which was a grant funded position to oversee the grant and deal more with grants. You see what I'm saying? Which is kind of specific to that. That's great. You're doing a slice of it, but you need an assistant manager that's actually going to divvy up the work between you and this person. And then obviously if you have to go on vacation, you have to do this, you have someone else to obviously, you know, carry things, you know, because you're just one person. So that's what we're talking about in terms of CREST being fully funded and fully staffed, which the town has not done that. And then what they want to do is criticize. They haven't done it, but then they want to
Well,
criticize.
that's being reactive and not proactive.
Yeah.
So, and that was mentioned in something.
Yep.
And for Crest to do the work that the task that we were given, we need to be proactive and really think about how we're going to go about this. And that's what I've been trying to do, is really hone down what it is and the type of calls we're going to, and making sure that people who have needs or still have hours, then they can come in to get an assessment for a Salvation Army voucher, but it's not every day, you know.
Yeah. Thank you. Erica?
Mine is really quickly. At the end of December, when those protocols are in place, the town needs to send out to every resident in the town information that they can call the dispatch or they can call Crest directly. They're able to do that with water quality brochures. They can do it with Crest. I still hear people saying they don't know what Crest is. I don't know how they don't, because you've been in Amherst Bolton, you've been in all kinds of events, but the town has a responsibility that once those dispatch protocols are in place, to inform all the residents of this town that this service is available. So hopefully that is part of the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. I will say this with the media specialist, Samantha Giffen. So we have been able to get out the word about Crest, events that we're at, events that we're participating in, that events that we're having, like the vet breakfast. The vet breakfast has grown. The amount of people that come and from far away. The speakers that we've had have been phenomenal. I learn something every time. So,
Me. So I just want to maybe hammer the point home, beat a dead horse, whatever the metaphor is. But so for the CAD, you call in to CAD just a number of categories. Like, is it the pre-approved that the implementation team transition had put in place? Like those 6
Right,
things?
those calls that involved, assist business, assist neighbor, assist PD, et cetera. Those are the calls that we call in that make it onto a CAD report. The in-office ones, the telephone calls, the people that just stop by for information, those don't make it into CAD. What we have is we do have a log that goes to dispatch, but that is just like a daily fraction, of what we're doing. So now I have implemented so that we can get all of the information.
Right. And
So
so
it's more in
say,
depth.
I'm just thinking of stuff like the budget for the police, how they break down their calls, like mental health or like Med-Assist or something like that. Like, are those on your like side log that's not going to CAD? Are you kind of able to categorize some things into like what they would be considered if dispatch were sending Cress instead of police?
These are more calls. These are more like phone calls or people just stopping by for information or, stopping by thinking they just want information and then they need a little more. So depending on to what level it is, if it is something more involved, then a CAD will be made for it.
Okay.
But if it is like the phone call today, that didn't make it into a CAD.
And then in terms of the program manager, I guess I'm just trying to conceptualize, is it very similar to the grant implementation manager? Is there overlap with some of the administrative assistant duties, or like where do those vary? Because
So the admin takes care of like all the administrative stuff, the emails, etc. And the program manager is going to take care of programming and so the items needed for the programming, the data that goes with programming, the data. Okay, now it's my dog's turn. The data for the grant and making sure that we adhere to the grant and the monies, and also we'll be dealing with fiscal with the grant.
and
So since we didn't have the grant, more of the stuff was put on to the admin assistant.
okay. So it would be technically like removing some of the responsibilities that weren't supposed to be hers
Right,
back to where it should have been.
right.
And is this still under the EAPS grant, or is this a different grant?
Yes, this is
Okay.
still under the EAPS grant.
So,
This is the money that we have that was not spent from the EAPS grant.
okay, so, and this might not be a you question, but like, why was Kat's position terminated then if it's,
Oh, so here's what I found out the understanding is. So with this grant, the money ended as of June 30th, but it was still there if the state was going to take it back. But the state decided to leave the release, which we didn't find out about until late September. And this happened, I guess, last year too. So finding out that it is a very different thing with Amherst. Unless we have the money in hand, we can't spend it. So even if we're promised money for a program, etc., I can't go to put out the information for a bid. I can't go to put out for a position until the money is actually in the town budget or the fiscal department.
okay. All right.
I didn't understand it either, but
Yeah.
I figured it out afterwards. So what ends up, like I said, what ends up happening is the money, unless the money is actually, in other words, we don't get credit.
Uh-huh.
So unless we have the cash, we can't do anything.
Okay. Wait, and something just popped. Oh, side note, unrelated. Has Cress been tapped at all for any of the kind of support around the students who were displaced by the fire? Or is that something that really campus is taking care of? And I
No,
mean, I
we've
know it's-
also reached out to them, and also today went out to Olympia Oaks because remember they had that fire not too long ago.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's happening now is with the rubble pile, and they were bringing in a crane to because it was still smoldering. So the crane would go move the parts so they could get the water to it to put it out, and but there will be like flare ups. So Crest went out to talk to the neighbors because if they have any trauma reactions, but also to make sure that they understand that if they see anything to call, to call 911.
Right. No, I appreciate because I live very close to there. And last night there was like a huge smell of smoke all of a sudden. I
Mhm.
was like, what's
And
happening?
that is going to be as a retired firefighter, that's
Mhm.
going to be a while that
Okay.
smell's going to be there. So
Yeah.
they're going to have to move that pile. I mean, that was a 5-story building.
Mhm.
So, and then the other building, that's a lot of flammables and plastics, etc., that have to be put out. And it's going to have to be, you think about like when you do a fire in your fire pit, it goes down, but you have to stir it up and put water on it to actually make sure everything is out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really appreciate that Olympia Oaks was taken into consideration because A, that recent fire, and B, my kids are on that bus and they were like, wow, we saw all that rubble and it was a
Mhm.
lot. And so, it is important to be having these conversations with the community about A, how to stay safe, and B, like this was not an insignificant event that just occurred.
No.
A lot of
No.
people have lost their belongings and their place to live, and I would imagine if I had just 2 months ago gone through a fire in my own complex and then that happened right next door, it would probably bring up a lot. So I appreciate that that was thought about and
And
there's
some of the
outreach
people
there.
from the original fire are just getting apartments now. So spoke to someone today that now is housed. So, I mean, they were living in a hotel. So this is going to take some time and a lot of community collaboration and cooperation.
Right. No, it's a lot of people who in a town were already so squeezed for housing that it's just
Mm-hmm.
it feels really weighty. So
I also
Every-
think, Allegra, I believe, are you on the is the Housing Commission? What is it?
yeah, the affordable, well, I'm on the Affordable Housing Trust and we meet
Yeah.
tomorrow.
So I think that one of the things I was talking to someone with today about that is now that there is this immediate need for apartments, landlords don't prey on people by jacking up rents and things like that. So I don't know what the housing commission can do, or if the town can set some benchmarks as to say, hey, if your apartment was value was this yesterday, it should stay what it was before the fire. You can't just, because it is preying on people that's most vulnerable. Because I also understand too, and I don't know how long they're gonna allow this to happen, but about 50 or 60 of those people are staying at Amherst College for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't imagine Amherst College is going to be that generous for very long. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point to bring up tomorrow. Anybody else have anything for Camille?
I say again, if you have any questions or anything else that you want me to answer, if you drop me an email so that for next month I can answer any of the questions you have.
So let's see.
Thank you, Camille.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the rest of the things we have. We have town council debrief, budget planning, Rob, Youth Empowerment Center, retreat planning, and then public comment. Can we touch quickly on Rob, Youth Empowerment Center, and maybe budget planning, since I don't know if that will be a big thing, and if it is a big thing, then we can debrief and then talk about it. just to try and get like the easier things out of the way. Not out of the way, but that was the first thing that came to my brain. So the Rob, we all heard the presentation on Monday of the two different proposals. And I was having a hard time following at the end what they were voting on and when it was supposed to happen by. So they have referred it to the GOL for further discussion about how to perhaps operationalize some of that. Erica, you're shaking your head. Do you have a better way of describing it, or?
Well, my understanding is they did refer to GOL to look at the two proposals and make a recommendation to the town council. The GOL was very clear that there was not enough of a time to do all of that. So I think my understanding is that town council president Lynn stated review and just give us a recommendation. So it looks to me that, you know, they're going to do their best to take a look at it and bring something back in terms of a procedural vote. It wasn't, my understanding is that the recommendations more is how should the town council proceed with making a decision about the proposal is how I understood it. And then I heard something about a deadline of March, which I think all of us felt very uncomfortable with.
Well, deadline of April.
April.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, April. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was confused, and I think they were confused. I don't even know if they were really clear in terms of what they were even asking for the GOL to do. But for me, it's just again delay tactics for in resistance to put the resident oversight board in place. I didn't really appreciate the consultant presentation. I felt that it didn't really go into details about it. And I felt that they were very negative about the investigative model. They kept bringing up all these walls and issues in regards to it, and basically being like, oh, you only have an investigative model. Like one of the consultants were like, oh, if you have an investigative model for a town of this size, that means you have other problems that you're dealing with. And so you should actually just go deal with those problems. Why are you saying that? You know? It's just like, and basically he was kind of saying if you have the investigative model, that means you really don't trust, like your town or the police or whatever. Yeah, well, we don't trust the town or the police. We don't. And that's why we want the investigative model. So why are you saying that as if that's a negative? It's just that I wish that they had just, shared the information, but not given their opinions in terms of what they thought should be the model for a town of our size. No, in terms of for us, like CSWG, when we made recommendations, it was about what the community needed. So if the community needs an investigative model, that's what we should have, is an investigative model, and not go by, oh, because of the town of this size, we shouldn't have an investigative model. What is that about? You know what I'm saying? So I really think that, they should have really kind of presented the models and kind of talk through more about the models as opposed to giving their opinions as quote unquote experts or whatever they were, which I really don't think that at all. I really just think like you should have just spoken to the models themselves. And for me, it's just like in April of 2026, it better be that they come back with, okay, we're going to put this model in place, as opposed to more dilly-dallying and more waste of time. Because while they're wasting time, then our community is suffering. And I just want to put it out here, like I did during our presentation, is that the investigative model in and of itself doesn't even go the full way that CSWG recommendations made. It doesn't even do that because it doesn't have stipend. It doesn't talk about really having a majority BIPOC on a membership. It doesn't talk about any of those things. And yet they don't even want to put the investigative model in place. So if they don't put the investigative model in place, all they're going to be doing is rubber stamping. and saying, okay, the police did this investigation. Okay, well, this is what it is, and it's going to have no power, no way to really, question, what the police did and what, if anything, any recommendations that should be made to make a difference. So, so again, we need to continue with the pressure for this resident oversight board because we know that it's just resistance, resistance, and resistance in order to have oversight over the APD. We know that it's also going to apply to Crest, but Camille has said it more than a bunch of times that she doesn't have a problem with the oversight board. So the problem is with the police. They have a problem with an oversight board because they feel that they should have no oversight, that they should be able to do whatever they want, when they want it, and it's okay. And they feel that because there's no complaints coming and being filed, that it's okay. Yeah, there's no complaints because people are intimidated by you and they don't want to be retaliated against. That's why we need to have an independent board with the power to do what they need to do.
Right. And I guess going off that a little bit, I think my concern would be that if it does end up being a review board in place and then people aren't utilizing it because it's not, because the whole purpose of it was they didn't want to go to the police to investigate themselves and then have a review of the investigation of the police, then it will be somewhat like the situation that some are feeling towards Crest where, oh, well, they're not doing this thing. Well, yeah, you under-resource them. You're not giving them the support you need. You're not looking at the model that was originally suggested. And not to say that Crest hasn't done some great work, but again, it's like that we're setting things up to not be as successful as they could be. So yeah, I mean, I would agree with everything that Deborah said. I actually felt really angry in that meeting, having been a member on the tail end of things where it seemed like actually like the majority of people in the room were really pro investigatory board. And they brought UMass into the issue and it kind of actually brought up a lot of like, well, actually there was a big incident where there was a lot of police brutality from UMass police, state police, and like Amherst police were on the scene during that. So even if they weren't the ones brutalizing people, they were there in a supportive, backup type role. And that is in itself, I think, problematic. And that we just sweep under the rug that in fact there were 134 people arrested one night, and a lot of them did suffer pretty significant injuries from policing that happened in our town. It wasn't necessarily our police force, but it was in our town. So yeah, that also just kind of came up and was a little bit, I felt like, not relevant to the presentation in a way that then just made me feel like this is not what we really talked about during those meetings. And I feel like the part that was actually talking about the resident oversight board models was very skimmed over almost. So
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
I
and
guess.
that's what I thought they were going to actually do, was to actually talk about the models, but they didn't
Right.
talk about the models. They just talked about their opinions and what they thought, a town of our size to put in place. I'm like,
Mhm.
what?
But it was interesting that Ithaca was like the one small college town that had an investigatory board who they've actually done some really interesting stuff with like alternative policing stuff too. So I was like, oh, it's weird that you bring that up because that actually does seem pretty comparable.
Mhm.
So
Exactly. And
anyway,
so I was happy with Counselor Alicia who brought up, like the different models that we looked at in at CSWG, and that we looked at a variety of different places that have resident oversight boards, and that our closest one, Springfield, was just like, no, we need the subpoena powers. We need those things because it gives us the wherewithal to be able to do our work. So, for me, my thing is the APD should be welcoming a resident oversight board. They don't have anything to be with investigative powers, with subpoena powers, because if they don't have anything to hide, why would they be so scared to have a resident oversight board with those types of powers? Why do you want just review boards to rubber stamp everything that you do? I just don't get it. You know what I'm saying? Well, I do get it. If you have something to hide, you don't want that type of power. You don't want people to really feel that if they bring a complaint, it's actually going to be looked at, right? It's actually going to be taken seriously. It's actually going to be objective, and there's going to be, a thorough objective look into. Like for me, when I did work as an investigator, as an impartial investigator, a lot of people, they didn't like the outcomes that I had, but they respected my investigation. They couldn't poke holes into the investigation. So then once you have an investigation that is very thorough, that lays out the facts and things like that, even if one party doesn't like it, because a lot of times one party's not going to like it, right? That's going to be the case. But then you can still rely on it because you respect it. But now if the town thinks that a review board is the way to go, where it's just going to be rubber stamping, it's going to cause more mistrust. We talked a lot about mistrust. It's going to be more mistrust in the town and more mistrust with the police. Erica?
I assume the GOL has open meetings, and maybe we can ask Councillor Hala Lord to let us know when those meetings are going to happen. I suppose I could go online and check, but if we could get a direct, if we know when they're happening, then maybe one of us can go. And, if there's public comment, that we can make public comment to constantly reiterate and emphasize that this town needs an investigative model. I know that their role is probably going to be limited in terms of time, but any opportunity we have to keep on reiterating that, I think, is important.
That's a good idea, Erica.
That's a good
Thank
idea.
you. And I just wanted to, you said Springfield, and it just reminded me, based on also what Camille said earlier, and something that one of the trainers at the Luce event said the other night was, our police train with all these other agencies from other states, or I'm sorry, other cities nearby. So our police are having trainings with Springfield, having trainings with Holyoke cops, and Springfield is like the one area that had consent decree under the Trump's Department of Justice, which is pretty significant. So there, again, it goes back to the structural framework of policing. And so I do think that that's an important thing to think about systemically when we think about the review board and the other types of things that they might be doing in terms of policies and training recommendations and that sort of thing. Okay. Is there any update that we have on Youth Empowerment Center?
Well, I think the only update that we have is what we heard the town manager talk about, and I put it out there to the town manager. I said, by this next meeting, we wanted a liaison or someone that could speak to the Youth Empowerment Center, and yet that did not happen. Here we are at this meeting, no liaison, no answers in terms of the Youth Empowerment Center. The town manager had brought up that, we haven't found a place that we could build a youth empowerment center. We've never said for you to build a youth empowerment center. We've said for you to find a location in the town to have the youth empowerment center. And there's plenty of locations in town if you really want to make that happen. But every time that there's a location, other businesses take it over, and here we go. No youth empowerment center is put in place. So, he talked about the $500,000, which is not even $500,000, because I know there was a part of it that was already used for some type of assessment that we never saw any report in regards of the outcome of that assessment and who did it and what have you. So there's that money, okay, went into free cash. Supposedly it's there earmarked for youth empowerment, or is it? I don't know. So again, no answers, no communication as to when anything is going to happen and when the Youth Empowerment Center is going to be established. And we were very clear, we want this established. Put it in our communication on the Friday meeting that this needs to be established at least by the next academic year when our young people go back to school. They need a place. It will overall help everybody. It will help the schools. It will help parents. It will help. That's what, the town's not understanding. That you establish this, you're helping the community in its entirety in terms of all the parts that actually help our young people, right? Which is the schools and the families and the different mentors, and if they have a place where they can go and work with our young people, it's only going to assist. And yet there's this resistance in terms of doing it. So I'm putting it out there again publicly to the town manager. Where's the liaison? When are we going to get someone that's going to attend our meetings on a monthly basis to give us the timeline in order to establish this youth empowerment? Where is the money? We want to actually see a budget, line item budget with the Youth Empowerment Center. And we need to make sure that the Youth Empowerment Center establishment is put in his budget for this next fiscal year so that there's actual a budget in there. Because if he doesn't put it in the budget, it's not happening. So where is it?
This just popped into my head, but the space that I don't even know what it was called, the Amherst Public House, maybe over
Mhm.
by
Yep, on University Drive.
yeah, so that place I think it now has lease signs up on it. So I don't know
Mhm,
if that
it does.
restaurant went under, but that is
Yeah, it did.
I mean, it might be a little bit of a weird retrofit that you would have to do to that space, but it is like big and open and right now across from the temporary library, so that could be a draw for transport, maybe to, just a thought. It's
Yeah,
like,
and it like bus lines and it has
Mhm.
all of those things here. It would be very accessible to a variety of people to get to it. That's a great idea. But again, like I said, what the town will do is then, just let it go to another business. That's what will happen, and they'll keep up the excuse of there's no location. There's
Mhm.
plenty of locations. It's just you don't see our youth as a priority.
Well, maybe I
I do,
will write to Paul, Everald.
I do have to run. I was gonna say, I'm not sure if it's big enough, but on that same University Drive, there is a building that was, and it will need some work because I think it was initially built to be a dispensary, but they never opened.
Oh yeah, sure.
And it has a lot of parking spaces. It is when I was looking for an office, I went in there, and I'm like, you guys, no one has ever used it. It needs some tailoring, but whomever left it, there is TVs, security cameras, all those things are still there, and they've been trying to lease that building for quite some time. I'm sure, the town maybe will work something out with them, because it's in there. Also, that's I think where the temporary library is, and I know it's not a standalone building, but there's a lot of space in that building in 100 University Drive.
Mhm.
I think UMass had a lot of suites in there, and now they're all like a lot of them all empty, and so it's like very large conference room slash suites. I don't know if it's because it's in not a standalone building. It'll be, you know, what people are looking for, but 100 University Drive is partially empty.
Thank you,
Everald.
Evelyn.
Yeah. Okay, I do have to drop.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks for
Bye.
coming.
Okay, right.
Right. Erica.
So we already started the budget process. As you know, last Monday, the finance person presented a big macro overview. What struck me is when they talked about having $10 million. $10 million that they actually try to keep as a goal, that could have funded all of CRESS, that could have given DEI more money, that could have done the Youth Empowerment Center. So I think we really, really need to be on top of this budget. I know there's going to be a budget discussion on the 17th, which is next Monday. I'm going to try to look at the budget again. I mean, there was a lot of things thrown out there, but it's hard to dissect this budget in terms of what the asks are. And I think we've asked both Philip and Camille how much ability they have to present their own budgets, which if I don't want to speak for them, but it seemed like not a lot. They can only provide a wish list. But if we knew, I mean, we know some of their wish list. We really have to advocate for it now, not, when the finance committee is meeting, because then it's too late because there's already recommended budget. And we know what our experience was last year. So I think we have to be really on top of this. And we also have to make a meeting as soon as the new year starts with the new counselors joining the current counselors. We need to be on their agenda ASAP to give our input on the budget, because the budget is what makes things happen.
And I think that that's an excellent point. I think I had put budget planning on the agenda, and if it's okay that we move on to that item, thinking what could we ask for, not just to support CRESS and DEI, but in terms of could we make a direct ask to the council? And so Monday, let me back up. Monday, the 17th is the public forum on the budget, and it starts at 7. So that is a hybrid meeting, so you can go in person or you can go on Zoom. And that's at least part of it is to hear from the public what their priorities are. And we can always just present, as individuals to say, let's fund CRESS. I mean, I think what Camille said about not only unfreezing the 2 positions, but adding 2 more, and then that would allow there to be 2 shifts. I think that's important. I think that is a really concrete ask. And looking at the allocations for this year, your budget is just a little bit over $500,000. That's not a lot. And then in terms of forums and stuff like that, I don't know if asking for a line item for the budget to have like $6,000 for us to do outreach, because I was thinking that when we did the forums where we had the simultaneous translation available, I think it was maybe about $2,200 for 3 languages and the headsets and all of that. So I think that might be, because I don't know how the Pocket Talks work in terms of if there are multiple people listening to it at the same time. And I don't know if Philip has any information about that. But then I think also DEI just getting additional support staff would be probably something that they would appreciate and a reasonable ask. I know that there are 2 part-time like work study students that make up a part-time employee right now, and that's great and not adequate to do everything that needs to be done. So I am happy to draft something up on behalf of the committee and share it by Friday. Okay. And do we think $6,000 for our budget forums would be a reasonable ask? I think that would allow maybe 2 if we had 3 languages interpreted, if the Pocket Talks aren't a reasonable alternative. Okay.
Would that also include continuing meeting? As we said, we wanted to do possibly 3 to 4 retreats a year. I mean, we don't really need a lot of money. I think, if we used $100 for our retreats, except that would not include a facilitator. That's the
Right.
thing. So think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say 10,000 then, and then we have an overage. And that way, we can ask for it. It doesn't mean we'll get it, but it shows that we've tried to go through the proper steps of saying, we want to do these things. This is the money we think it will take to do them. And then it's on the town to say yay or nay. And Philip, you had popped on and then popped away.
I heard about the pocket talks and then my name. I didn't hear the actual question. Was there an actual question or?
The actual question was, if there was a public forum,
Mhm.
is it that each person would get a pocket talk?
Ideally, I guess that's probably how it would work out.
Mhm.
I've brought this attention or this matter up to our communication person, and we're kind of in talks about it. It's not a direct translation, so I mean, I think there's probably are people on here that speak different languages on a call. It's very easy to have that interpreter in front of you. And when
Mhm.
you don't have that, the next best thing would probably be direct translation, because then it's like almost if you're traveling and you say something in your phone and then you hold it up to the next person, then they hear it in their language, then they have to say something, and then you go back and forth. It's not really ideal for a meeting or forum.
Right.
There are direct translations where like you kind of loop it in your ear as an earbud and it will translate simultaneously for you and you can
Mhm.
speak in that way. Both people would have to wear the headset in that regard. We do not currently have that as a town, so for the
Okay.
pocket talk, it it could work. It just would probably not be a functional meeting, and I would recommend adding on more time if that's the way in
Mhm.
which that it has to happen.
But I mean, that brings up a good point. But that brings up a good point in terms of the fact that, like we were saying during our meeting, that, translation needs to be intentional. So like even for our meeting tonight, not like it was translated into other meetings. I mean, into other languages. So, I mean, I'm assuming with AI, with everything happening, there isn't any AI program right now that translates into different languages without there needing to be an actual person at the other end or what have you. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure right now there's other things that are out there on the market that the town could actually probably look at or pilot out and things like that around translation.
Yeah,
Because yeah.
you're totally right. There definitely is translation in there. I think the space is a interesting space language access, because I think if you talk to other people, so I'm a part of a group that's like a national group of language access people, and I think people are fearful of losing their jobs to AI, so I don't think that there's a big push on that way. But certainly when you don't have a person that speaks the language, that comes in handy. But I think as probably most of the topic tonight is the budget for it all, and as you all know, DI does not have the budget for it, and I'm not really sure that Sam, as a communication manager, has a budget for it either.
But again, I mean, it needs to be the town kind of being more intentional around it, and I do get it, right? That obviously, this might mean, in terms of live interpreters, there won't be as much of a need for live interpreters, except for, different things where you actually do need live interpreters. But in terms of like these types of meetings, where Zoom meetings and things like that, it becomes very cumbersome, right, to have a live interpreter. So it's not as if you're not going to have a need for live interpreters. You are for certain situations. But we do need to look at, because at the bottom line is having people have access to these types of meetings. Right now, only English speakers and listeners who can, that can understand the language are the only ones that can attend our meetings. If there's folks that don't speak English or don't understand English, they're out. They don't have access to this information unless we're now going to go and share this information for them. And that's not okay. That's not correct. So the town needs to kind of think about those things. But for us, though, I mean, obviously we're going down, that tangent, but I wanted to obviously bring that up because it was one of our one of the areas that we identified in our presentation was translation services and the fact that it needs to be more strategic and intentional. But for us, though, I mean, I think if we do an ask, Allegra, I think we need to say what we need the money for. You know, we need the
Mhm.
breakdown. Because they're not just gonna say $10,000 and that's that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Just putting a figure out there is not really going to be, you know, as helpful to them. It needs to be based on, okay, this is how much, and we do have those numbers though. Who helped us with some of those other town forums we did have? Because we had some translation folks there, and it cost, I know, a lot of money.
Yeah,
Um,
let me
Yeah.
see.
so we need some
But-
of those numbers to actually put into our budget. Like this is how much we need per year because one, we need we need facilitators for our retreats, right? This is how much we pay. This is the food and these are the materials that we need for those retreats, right? So it's 2 a year. We have forums. We want to do forums at least twice a year. It's anywhere from 3 to 4 forums because we want one at least on Zoom, and then we want 3 other forums. You know, one on a weekend, one in the evening during the weekday, and one in the morning if we can, you know, make it work one in the morning. So at least 4 forums. How much is that going to cost? You see what I'm saying? And a lot of
So I did find the invoice for just so we had 3 simultaneous language interpreters. I believe it was a Zoom that we did once. So we had Portuguese, Spanish, and Chinese, but then because it was a certain amount of time, we needed 2 interpreters for each language. And it came up to $2,560.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that would be, I mean,
So then if we're looking at, you know, for 4, like if we do like 4 town forums or
mhm,
3 to 4, I mean, we just have to kind of figure that out. And really, like I said, we should be doing this twice a year. We
mhm,
haven't done it just because we don't have the money.
right.
We have to do this twice because we need to have the pulse of the community and what people want. So, but I think we need to give them a breakdown of the numbers because if we don't give
Mhm.
them a breakdown of the numbers, they're just gonna look at the figure and laugh,
Mhm,
you know? At least if we have a breakdown of the numbers, so let's say we have gonna have 4 town forums twice a year, they can say, well, maybe we can't do twice a year, but we can do once a year.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, okay, so this is how much we have or whatever.
right,
But ideally, we want twice a year,
right.
you know?
And I guess I don't know if anybody has a ballpark for what a facilitator should cost for a meeting, but I don't know if,
Well, I mean, a facilitator, we're still gonna do like a stipend. It's not like we're paying them top dollar. You know
right,
what I'm saying? Because obviously a facilitator, when we're talking about a half a day, it could be several $1,000s. I've been, you know, in my previous life facilitators where I used to get paid for so it can be quite expensive. So it's not like we're gonna pay them top dollar. So what we're trying to do is
mhm,
respect them for their work. You know what I'm saying? So let's say like when we did our last facilitation, it was what was the time that we did it? It was what, 10 to 1?
9 to 1. It was 4 hours, and then you think of prep time. I mean, I think a good honorarium on the high side would be like $500, which I think, you know, for 4 hours plus prep is fine. It's $100 an hour. If someone's willing to take 350, you know, that's also a good amount of money. If we just say, let's just say 500, and then for 2 times, that would be 1,000, plus for food 100 times each. So $1,200 for our retreat, I think is very reasonable. We have a
Food
free space.
and materials though, do we need any money for materials? Like I'm saying, like, you know, like the paper, the markers, you know, the crayons, or
We
this or that. Can
scrunched
we
it
get
off from
that?
Philip and Camille, but yes,
Yeah.
we should put it in so we can then give it back to them. Yes,
Mhm.
let's do that too. Let's just put it
Yeah,
in
we
there.
should just put a little bit for that. So I think that's a good kind of breakdown of the
mhm,
budget in terms of what we would be able to do. I mean, the only other thing that we could ask for that I know that I've brought up in the past would be if we wanted to do some type of education for the community, right? So besides the town forums, if we
mhm,
wanted to get a speaker to come and do something for the community, right? To have some type of educational not programming, but share educational information for the community, then that would be, again, the money to pay the speaker, translation, food, that sort of thing. So that would be the only other thing that we could add, is if we want. I know we haven't done that in the past, but given everything that's going on, we might want to do it.
Mhm.
And then I think that would round out our budget.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yep, so I will try and put something together by Friday.
So the one for Friday, it would just be for CSSJC budget, right?
Yeah,
Or are we, okay,
like
so then
budget
we,
recommendations and requests, I guess, because I think unless you think I should separate out, also we're in support of Crest receiving their responders back +2, and DEI needs.
well, no, I mean, it's not just responders back +2, it's also responders for, the 2 shifts for, 4 to 12, and also weekend shifts. You see what I'm saying? No, we just don't want, just the responders back. They need to increase the budget for Crest. So I don't know if this is when we need to do that, but we need to kind of do that for Crest, we need to do that for DI, and we need to do that for at least the Youth Empowerment Center.
Mhm.
Those would be the 3 things. So I
Right.
don't know if this is the appropriate place to add it. I'll defer
Yeah.
to you, Allegra and Erica, if you think that this is, if it is, then, because I know you all are more kind of in tune with the budget.
Mhm.
I just know the asks.
Right. No, I mean, I think
know
this
the
would be the time
timing.
to do it,
Yeah.
because I think they're writing the financial guidelines as we speak.
Yeah.
Um,
And Philip, what do you, because I know you all need at least an administrative assistant to help, like a full-time administrative assistant, not some intern and so on and so forth that's going to be gone after 3 months. No, you need at least an assistant, an administrative assistant, but what else do you all need?
Yeah, I think an administrative assistant would be definitely needed. I think also seeing our operating budget potentially go up. It's been the same since I think Pamela has held the position, so no increase there in 3 years. As we all know, that's not realistic for inflation and everything else that has existed.
Yeah, and you all need, and your work has only increased in terms of helping other committees and things like that. You've been assigned to do more work without the actual budget. And also, if you want trainings to be mandatory, then that's going to increase, right? Your
Mhm.
work, which this is what we want. So that means it needs to be more operating budget in regards to that. Let me see, what was the other thing too? Can't think of it. There was something else that I wanted to kind of add for DI, but at least those would be some of it. And then Youth Empowerment Center, they need to give the appropriate amount of funding to establish the center. As we had heard from Ray, right, when he had come in, a while ago to talk to us, it's not just about money like seed money to establish it. Okay, that's great. Like that's one-time money, but then you need money to keep running it for years to come, right? With the staff, with the operational funds, with the materials, with all of those things. So, and I don't know, I don't know, I don't think we're the ones that need to say the amount. We just need to put in what we need, which is the establishment of the center with adequate staff, with operational funding to be able to run a center for our young people in the town. And $500,000 is not going to cut it. That's just seed money to establish it. But the town knows this, right? That's why they have Ray, and that's why they have others that have been running different aspects in the town, but yet they don't have a number yet in terms of establishing it. It's because they don't want to establish it. What do you think, Allegra? You could
Yeah,
get
I
us
mean, I
something?
think it's the same thing we've been saying for the last couple of years, so I think it will be
Yeah, but let's document it, because the other part of the
oh, of
outcome of the
course.
town council is that we gotta be in front of the town council again.
Right.
Let's say in February, if
Mhm.
a lot of these things don't get
Mhm.
taken care of. You see what I'm saying? Like we can't let this much time go by, like we let 3 years of time go by. So we
Right.
can't let this much time go by before we're in front of the town council saying, okay, what happened to this? What happened to this? What happened to this? What happened to this?
And is there still money for DEI to do youth programming?
We do not have a line item that has youth programming, so when that initiative came on, we're working with the same amount of money. When that ask is asked of us. So as we do, we make it work.
Mhm.
Making
And
a lot of 15 cents.
so you are going for a grant for something too? Is that was approved by town council? DEI.
That is for our Becoming Beloved Community series.
Okay,
So that's continue the work of Dr. Barbara Love. And so that would be separate and set for that kind of initiative of what it is the residents would like to see transpire. So that would be the seed money to get what is. So the idea is, we've asked people what it is that they want. Now it's like, okay, we've asked you what you want. What can we put some money to through this grant that we
Mhm.
will secure?
Camille, anything to add to budget?
I was just gonna say, we're going to continue with the grant money that we have, Crest Connections, working with youth in the schools. So that was middle and younger. Those kids were so happy when we went there. Oh, it was so much fun. I mean, to get them engaged in a book is amazing.
It's fun. All right. Do we want to debrief from the town council meeting?
Well, at this point, I'm getting exhausted.
Yeah, me too. Just like I was at the town council meeting.
I think
Sorry.
we need to put that on for the next time.
Yeah.
We still need to debrief, but and strategize around the town council meeting.
Yeah. And then the other thing we have is retreat planning. I think I would like to maybe go back to the idea of tabling a retreat until we have new members. I have a few people that I've been talking to, trying to get them on board to apply. And also, I feel like we just need a few people to just put in applications so that there will be a sufficient applicant pool so that we can start the interview process. So if I can get the people that I have in mind on board to fill out the application and commit to wanting to do this work, which I think I can, and we can find two other friends that'll just fill out the paperwork and do a little interview with us, that would be helpful to get some more people on this. Yeah, so
I mean,
that would be
I agree with that, Allegra, but the only thing is that, the town takes too long. I mean, we
right.
see that. So, I mean, while we're waiting, then if we don't have retreat, because I do think it was beneficial for us
Yeah,
to have that last retreat just for us, because we're dealing with a lot,
right.
we're having to handle a lot, especially with
Mhm.
right now what's happening in our nation and happening locally in our town. um, you know, we need to be ready. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So that's my only reservation. I mean, I do think, yeah, when the members are on board, whenever that's gonna be, I think, yeah, we do need to have another retreat at that point, but
Yeah.
I don't think we need to kind of hold out. I mean, like for instance, right now it's not like we can come up with a date anyway because two of our other members are not here. So we'd have to table this until the next time. But I think when we do have time to eventually talk about the retreat, when us five are together, I think we should just, select a date and let's work towards it. You see what I'm saying? And put pressure on the town manager to get our new members on board because hopefully it will coincide, both will coincide. But I don't think we should just hold off on us meeting because I think it's very valuable, at least I felt it was very valuable for us to meet as a group, to continue to team build amongst ourselves because this work is very tiring, it's very stressful, it takes a lot out of us, and we have to be a team, even if it's just us five right now. We need to be a team, which we showcased, right? We showcased it last week. Some members, wasn't able to make it on Monday, and you weren't able to make it on Friday. But yet we were able to come together as a team, right? And make the points that were necessary to get the point across for that motion to pass. But also, and it wasn't even that motion. It is what it was. It is because really the really only new part of the motion was the dispatch part because the other ones we already had it in there. So we were going to still hold them accountable to those 7 points. But wonderful. But it was still good to kind of get it in there. But all I'm saying is that it serves us. The more of a team we are, the more effective we're going to be, and the more we're going to be able to get done.
No, I agree. And I think January for a possible target would be helpful. It would be really great if we had some more members on board then. I mean, I can always just fill out a doodle poll for January because I know I'd filled one
Like
out.
January and February.
Yeah.
Let's vote. Because then it kind of gives you a little bit of time because I don't see the town getting it together by January with the new members. That's why I would say, do the poll for both months. And then see. Erica?
Yeah, so I had down the 10th, 17th, and the 24th of January, 9 to 1. And Phil and Camille have been very good about helping us get the bank center for that because it's very central and also parking is easy. If you want, I can get in touch with Angela Mills and see if there are any applicants because we're not getting any progress reports to even know if there've been any applicants. So if you want me to, I'll send an email to Angela and ask her, are there any applicants? What's the number? As soon as we know, I mean, it doesn't even matter to me. If there's one, we interview one. If there are two is even better. In Allegra, please tell people, submit their
Yes.
applications.
Yes, please do. Yes. Yes, I agree. Yeah, if you could, Erica, that would be great.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. And I did have one other point. I don't think it's too early to ask the town council for us to be put on the agenda for February.
True, because we know how long that took last time. Great idea.
All
And
right. So,
Allegra, I don't even want to spin my wheels in terms of asking the town council, so I'm sorry to have to
no,
ask you.
listen, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about some things.
I got ignored when I emailed several times to the town.
I don't think that it's a lovely, happy, smiley face that they're loving to see, but I can send them an email. Shall we move on to public comment?
Yes.
On that note.
On that note.
So if you want to say something, use the raise hand function and I'll bring you into the room. Just kidding. Camille, can you bring Miss Pat into the room?
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Miss Pat.
So,
Can people hear me?
Yes.
Pat Anani Bako. First of all, I want to thank all the candidates who ran for recent election, regardless of the result. Especially Allegra for putting yourself out there. Thank you so much. You do a lot. I know you're behind the scene with a lot of organizing that goes on in this town that people don't know, but I do. So thank you. You're still a champion either way. You're not going anywhere. You'll continue to do your advocacy and activism work. I just want to mention also that my observation from the election result was a clear message from voters that they are sick and tired of white supremacy and status quo. And so I think this is an opportunity for us to continue to build the momentum. And hopefully when the new council starts in January, it's going to be a little bit different. Even some of the independent candidates who run hopefully will, team up with the progressives to change the course in this town. My hope for the new town council is to prioritize people first before infrastructure. Yes, we need infrastructure, but people first. And I say that I have all the things that CSWG recommended, the CREST, the DEI, the youth center, the ROB, and also for the APA funds that were sent to free cash. I think one of the challenges in our town with advocacy is like we're in our different silos. So we have the housing advocates, you have the Black Business Association, you have CSSJC, you have CSWG. So we have a different group, disability group. I think we need to rethink how we approach advocacy towards the decision makers. I would love to see where we're being inclusive when we advocate for equity in our town. We still have some money left from APA funds that was sent to free cash. That money is supposed to go to not only to youth center, also to BBAA that didn't get anything. I would like that, the advocacy language to change a little bit when there's opportunity for public comment or presentation at the town council. Having said that, I will say thank you all for excellent presentation at town council. I was so proud of all of you, especially for the leadership of Deb and Allegra. But I really, this is just my dream, like CSSJC, the way you guys work together. You guys are very brave and fearless. I also appreciate the staff liaison, Camilla, sorry, and Philip. I just love the way everybody is working together, understanding what the issues are. As we know, this is budget season. We shouldn't, the ask should not be replace the two, CREST staff. The ask should be go back to CSWG recommendation of 15 employees or even more. DEI need administrative assistant and so on and so forth. It's not, what the previous or the current town council have decided that's what is needed. No, they need to go back and review CSWG recommendations. There's also something I just want to throw out there. As a Black woman, I feel the most important town committee we have, from my perspective, is you guys, CSSJC. And I think putting CSSJC as the advisory role is really not very effective. I would like to see this committee to explore the possibility of becoming a commission where you guys can become decision makers instead of advisory. It's been several years that this committee has been, been going and nothing seems to be moving, even though you guys do a lot of work. And pushing is because, the committee doesn't have power to implement decisions. I also would like to see more coordination between CSSJC and Human Rights Commission, because with the new council, we have some counselors finally that will listen to residents. We didn't have that before. So we have to, keep pushing, keep resisting, as we move forward. And the last thing I wanted to say is that when some folks talk about, collaboration, peace, unity, from my perspective, I think all that is possible when it's coming from marginalized group. The powerful people cannot dictate what collaboration means, or the way it should be. I think it should be coming from people who feel that they have less power. And I'm one of those in that group. And so the way peace or unity can happen in our town is the town council to start implementing CSWG recommendations. Give BBAA some upper funds. We have a white, powerful entity that got $250,000, and there was no outcry. And then when it came to BBAA, we didn't get anything. And because why? Racism and the fact that I exposed corruption of the 250 that went to black night and white nightclub. Okay. So I'm feeling excited, entering January. It's an exciting time, for our town. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you guys all so, so much. God bless.
Thank you, Ms. Pat.
Hello, all.
Hala, you're muted.
Oh, I had to unmute after I hit yes, it's okay to unmute. Dang it, my bad. Thank you. I wanted to holla Lord Amherst. I wanted to co-sign everything Miss Pat just said. I'll keep it brief because it's late. And just want to thank you all for the work you've been doing, for the work that went into the presentation, for sitting through that 6-hour meeting. Apologize for the disrespect that was shown. And then you still showed up Friday because you fight for the people. You are the people. And so my heart is so grateful. Yeah. And I think every time I bring the liaison report, I'm going to at least lift up those 7 items. I want to say we're working on the town manager's goals right now. So I wonder if public comment could help with that, because through this group, I learned I put translation services available at meetings as a priority, as a goal, in addition to a lot of the other recommendations. And I will send you the information about the GOL meetings. And just again, thank you all. I'm looking forward to working more closely with you as a whole council next year and beyond. All right, good night.
Thank you, Councilor Hala Lord.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Alicia Walker, speaking as myself, a resident of Amherst. I also just pretty much wanted to echo everything that Miss Pat and Hollis said, but I did also want to personally thank you all for your presentation at the council meeting on Monday night. I think you all were incredibly strong and organized. Not that I would expect any less, but it is just really great to see you all, like Miss Pat said, work so well as a group. And just it's very empowering to watch you all. And I feel very thankful, very unfortunate the disrespect and the response that you all received. But I hope that you all don't let that discourage you, because the work that you are doing is so incredibly important. And so I look forward to, seeing what I can do to help you all in the coming years, and to see some of these recommendations and these things that the town have been working on really actually take off. I know we've had a slow start to almost all of these things, but I'm hoping that we can keep that momentum going. And then I just wanted to speak to one thing in terms of Crest getting on dispatch. And I know liability has been one of the biggest barriers in terms of sort of like the PD and other folks being on board, and just this sort of hesitation around which calls Crest respond to. But I just want to remind everyone that police are not even required to have a degree. Like, what qualifies a police officer to respond to these things that are also liabilities for them? Just training. And so our Crest responders can be trained too. So please, please, please don't let that be the barrier to us getting Crest connected to dispatch, to Crest being able to respond to calls. All they need is the right training. That is it. So again, thank you all so much for your work. I look forward to working with you all more in the coming years.
Thank you, Councilor Walker, but I know you are, as Alicia.
Not seeing any other hands up. There are, let's see, our next meeting is December 10th, correct? Okay.
Yep.
And we have a lot of things that we could put on our agenda. Let's see, I think the League of Women Voters wanted to be in January. I think that
Okay.
they were both doing the Civic Academy, and that had a conflict until January. So yes, I will send out the agenda as we do beforehand. And also I just want to, I know I'm not supposed to respond to it, but when do I ever follow directions? Miss Pat mentioned us all working together and not being in silos, and I think it would be great to tap Dr. Shabazz to maybe organize a people's assembly for the spring. So that is, I'm putting that into the universe because I would like to see that happen, and I will help plan it if that needs to be the case. And Erica has her hand up, so.
I think we at the town council sent out an invitation to the town manager to come to our December 10th meeting. Should we formally invite him again with an email? If you want me to do it, I can do it. If you guys want to do it, you can do it. But I think we should document the fact that we did invite him at the town council meeting, and that we do hope that he will join us on the 10th.
Yeah, I know he had reached out at least to Deborah and I after the meeting, so maybe we can hop back on that thread and invite him there.
A good point to make sure we invite him formally again. Because we didn't invite him already. Several times. But
So,
and
yeah.
I do like just kind of reaffirming the budget that CSWG gave. That'll probably be the easiest.
Yeah, I think that I have that template somewhere that we did, because we've asked that before.
Yeah, we've asked that before too, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, well, it's 9:27, we can adjourn. Yay, thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye, good night.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.